Social anxiety was so bad that I would literally not go to lunch in high school. And if I was hungry, I would eat a chewy bar or whatever inside a bathroom. That was so bad. Welcome back to another video. And in this video, we will discuss all the things I did that got me from a socially anxious person to a person who is self-confident in his skin. High school was always tough for me. I did have a hard time not even making friends. That was like the last thing on my list of things to do. I was just really socially anxious. I remember when I was just starting out in my high school, I went to a private high school, and I still remember the first speech I gave in front of people. I had hypertension. I was all red. I was sweating, and it was so bad that I had the worst speech of my entire life in front of all the classmates that I had. And being a ninth grader is hard, and it was hard because kids are kids. They are going to make fun of you because the moral part of their brains aren't developed. So I just sensed that I was being judged. But after I faced racism, after I faced bullying, after I faced judgment, I started to change my life around. The first thing I did is lose weight. And that gave me an incredible power on myself and the ability to carry myself. I started to fix things in my control. I lost 65 pounds. I started to dress better because I know that dressing better is the best way, is the most acute way to feel better. I started to get into styling and fashion and all kind of fun stuff so that I could just feel better on the day-to-day basis. And I also started getting disciplined academically because I know that if I become good at something, like I will have self-confidence. So towards the end of my high school, I started to really do things my way. And the second kind of category here is purpose. Do what you want to do. Do not fall for things that other people make you want to do. That means you have to decide on a career and not your parent and not your friends. When I started to decide for myself, I want to be a PA and not a medical doctor, that is when I had the ultimate confidence and the confidence of my skin, of being myself. When I started to own that I am Indian, when I started to own my ethnicity and my race, that is the greatest amount of confidence I started to have. I started to get into fitness, and I started to eat a lot of meat. And being an Indian, you will get judgment on what you eat. It's primarily meat. And so, but I wanted to do that. This is what I want to do. And so do things you want to do. If you want to date outside your race, date outside your race. Do things that make you become confident in your own skin. And that is what purpose is. Purpose is a combination of different things you want to do. And if you can't figure that out, then other people will figure it out for you. And then I started doing content creation. I started helping people for free. The value you bring to people for free is the most undervalued skill in this world because no one does free work anymore. So you have to volunteer and you have to provide your values for free. For me, all of those things that I just said fulfills my purpose and my values and my goals and my soul at the end. This is also all about spirituality. You have to keep feeding your soul, and that comes from deciding on your purpose. The third thing in this category is to not being afraid of talking to strangers. Okay? One of the worst things that you can do if you are other than a white person, like if I have seen with my Indian friends, like they would never make friends with, they would have a friend group full of brown people. Now, what does that create? That creates a comfort zone. You won't even think about creating a friend group that is diverse, that has whites, Asians, blacks, and other ethnicities. That makes you so comfortable, not only being around the same people, but also the same language. You speak the same language. Then how can you communicate with a person in English if you have a group that is filled with the same color and same language? How can you improve your English if you are going to be in a group full of people that you know and who speak your native language? Once you start interacting with different groups of people every single day, and once you start initiating conversations, you get better at English. You are less afraid to take risks in communication, because that is, at the end of the day, that is what it is. You have to take risks in communication. People say things differently. They have their own style of communication. And if you don't learn how to interact with strangers, how to interact with other groups of people with different races, ethnicities, you will never develop your own style of English communication ever. This is also great for career development. For example, in college, if you have had a group of friends that looked similar to you, spoke the same native language, and then you move away across the country where everyone is white and everyone is diverse, how are you going to adjust? That will take you so much adjustment, and you will just be in your own shell, socially anxious boy. Lastly, you have to find your own communication style. In communication with other people, what I've observed is people don't want your sobbing story about life. People don't want your complaints. They don't want to hear your problems. They do, but they don't want to hear that over and sad sobbing story of your life. People want sense of humor. People want comedy. People are emotionally driven creatures, and the number one emotion that drives communication is happiness. If you provide someone happiness, they are happy to see you again. They are happy to communicate with you again. And so instead of focusing on your sobbing story, on how you look, on how you say things and your accent, blah, 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 why don't you focus on other people and create a communication style that is geared towards making them happy? This requires a lot of skill because, for example, I am very funny in my native language. People will say that. But initially, like 3 years ago, I was having a very hard time translating that sense of humor into English because it's completely different. You cannot translate sense of humor across different languages. That is really hard to do, and it requires months, if not years. And so once you start interacting with strangers, once you start interacting with coworkers in English, over time, you will develop your unique sense of humor, which is the fundamental of any communication, sense of humor. This will not only drive your dating life, this will drive your this will also drive your professional life, and this will also drive your friendships, because that is what people want, and not your sobbing story at the end of the day. Getting rid of social anxiety is a skill. It does not happen in a single day. It does not happen in a single interaction. It is your conscious effort on saying the right things in a flow. Whenever you're communicating with someone, you have to be curious. You have to develop your communication style, and that only happens through practice, like anything. This is highly performance based. You have to have friends that speak English. You have to have diverse group of friends you have to have diverse group of people you interact with. And that is how you get rid of your social anxiety. You're not going to get rid of your social anxiety in a dark room playing video games in your mom's basement. You have to get out in the world. And these are my top things and lessons I learned from my childhood that can hopefully help you too. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to catch you in the next one. See ya.